Takafumi is informed his uncle Yosu, a 34-year-old man who has spent 17 years in a coma after getting clapped by Truck-kun, has finally awoken, so he goes to see him. Once arriving, he claims to have been in an alternate world called Gran Bahamal, and he surprisingly demonstrates he has kept some of his magical abilities that he gained in Gran Bahamal. Equipped with the newfound power of the Japanese language, he chants Ikura's Kora every time he experiences something unbearable as it erases his memory. Now excited, Takafumi decides to take him in and forgoes his financial issues in supporting him, because they can now attempt to make money by exploiting his powers on YouTube. However, Yousuke struggles with modern technology, particularly the internet. While describing his life in Gran Bahamal, Yousuke shows Takafumi his memories of a female elf named Elga, whom he saved and yet for some reason treated him badly every day. So Takafumi realizes Yousuke has never heard of a what tsundere before and probably never realized that Elga was in love with him. Yousuke also explains how he was once attacked and left for dead, which is when Elga saved him, but as Elga proclaims he's now in her debt, he gives her an extremely rare ring, which Takafumi realizes from the video of his memories Elga thought was him proposing. But he then sells the ring to pay off his perceived debt and abandon Elga in a random town, leading to her following him everywhere for the entirety of 17 years. With his stories from another world, Takafumi finds himself actually respecting Elga for her determination and stubbornness in chasing Uncle for so long. On a rainy day, the two find themselves in a pinch as the YouTube views have been declining. As such, Uncle Yousuke decides to stop buying things online, but he then reveals the last ever Sega magazine that he didn't get the chance to read before. After finally checking it out, he unfortunately finds out that a PC-ported game won Game of the Year, causing Yousuke to get struck by lightning as he yells out that his favorite game should have won instead. He also reveals he hates RPG games as he can never follow the story, revealing that he once was supposed to cure the broken heart of an ice witch named Mabel to get an ice sword that can defeat a fire dragon. But he forgot, so he killed the dragon without the sword and left Mabel to her misery. Afterwards, the doorbell rings and a package is delivered containing a Sega Saturn that comes with 20 games intended to be a surprise for Yousuke, but his recent outbursts about their tightened budget causes Takafumi to be hesitant to surprise him. Regardless, Yousuke is astonished about the gift, so the two end up playing together. The next day, Yousuke talks about how the city's atmosphere reminds him of a time during New Year's Eve in the other world. There, he reveals that Mabel come over at night on New Year's Eve, asking him how to overcome being a coward. However, completely unaware of what she actually wanted to accomplish, he convinces her to stay being shut-in and beat herself instead. He also turns down the offer of the ice sword as he doesn't like cold things. Later, Takafumi bumps into Suika Fujimiya, revealing that they've been friends since middle school and invites her over to his place. Back at home, Takafumi explains to her that this is his uncle who's also a YouTuber, but she replies by saying that Yousuke should leave Takafumi alone and live his own life elsewhere. Yousuke then deduces that she's in love with Takafumi, but she denies it, claiming they're just friends. However, Yousuke doesn't buy it, claiming he's already seen the entire Neon Genesis Evangelion series and knows where this is heading. He then uses a couple of Evangelion characters as an example of Takafumi and Fujimiya's relationship. After Yousuke reads her mind, Takafumi proves he is almost as dense as Yousuke, as he believes he and Sumika are just friends. The next day, Takafumi informs Yousuke he's going to be jobless soon if he doesn't reach over 1,000 subscribers and over 4,000 hours of watch time on YouTube in time. Takafumi then discovers Yousuke is losing subscribers because he's rude in his comments. Later, Yousuke recalls the time he visited the city of Luveldram, protected by a giant barrier which was breached by 1,000 monsters. In the memory, an elf clears up a misunderstanding that Yousuke was an orc. Regardless, the memory continues with Yousuke destroying the barrier just to see if he was strong enough and then quickly repaired it. Luckily, the elf named Elga hid the fact that Yousuke was the one who destroyed the barrier to the townspeople in exchange for a date, but Yousuke instead ran away, believing that she was blackmailing him. Back in the present, Yousuke decides to beg on his YouTube page for people to subscribe, but Takafumi thought it would fail as internet trolls would unsubscribe instead. However, much to his surprise, his uncle actually gains enough subscribers to save his channel. Eventually, Sumika arrives and berates the old man for trying to be a YouTuber, as it isn't financially adequate for someone his age. She then tells Takafumi that he would never have a girlfriend if his uncle continues to live with him. Upon hearing this, Yousuke suggests for Sumika to live with them as well, but Takafumi refuses and leaves. Yousuke then tries to have a heart-to-heart conversation with Sumika about Takafumi's relationship with her. However, his comparisons with video game romances don't align with her. Hence, he steps out of the room, and when Sumika tries to apologize to him, Takafumi's aunt appears, who's actually just a transformed Yousuke, so he can literally give her female advice. However, he gets exposed when Takafumi realizes his transformation magic would easily be a viral banger YouTube video. He's then convinced to do it after getting promised to play more Guardian Heroes. Afterwards, Yousuke uses magic to project Takafumi's memories of Sumika, showing he only remembers her as a vulgar tomboy and bully, totally opposite to Sumika's memories, who believed they actually had a sweet childhood friendship. Meanwhile, the Elga video is watched 200,000 times in minutes, disgusting Yousuke that his subscribers like elf girls more than his gaming videos, but Takafumi is ecstatic when they receive a huge amount of advertising money from YouTube. After rewatching more of Takafumi's childhood memories, Sunika is saddened by how they all show her as some kind of vulgar tomboy. Meanwhile, as Takafumi is shopping, Yousuke accidentally freezes Sunika with ice magic. Afterwards, Yousuke politely leaves so Sunika can shower, but Takafumi returns and accidentally sees her. However, Sumika hopes Takafumi is enticed by what he saw, but he is so dense he decides to apologize by having Yousuke erase his memory. But before his memories are erased, Sumika furiously stops him, but Takafumi only believes she's just being a really considerate friend. Later, Sumika reveals today is her actually 20th birthday, so Yousuke shows them his 20th birthday memory where he was alone at a festival, but runs into Elga. Elga was surprised but happy when Yousuke suddenly began walking her to his room. However, Takafumi and Sunika are disappointed to see how in reality, Yousuke was actually too drunk to walk and was just using Elga as a crutch to get back to his room. He locked Elga outside once he got home and went to sleep like a Sigma male. The morning after, Takafumi and Sunika notice that Elga's eyes are puffy and red from crying all night long, but Elga still declares she will join Yousuke in dungeon raiding. A memory from the next days inside the dungeon shows Elga was hit by a poison arrow and knocked Yousuke unconscious, using a magic item to prevent him remembering anything. However, it is clear to Takafumi and Sunika that the poison was actually an aphrodisiac, and Elga actually used the magic item to prevent Yousuke from remembering her satiating her lust. The next day, Yousuke remembers almost being assassinated, but his memory shows that Mabel tried to destroy him after he disposed of the fire dragon without her ice sword, as she has lost her life's purpose to guard the sword as no one needed it anymore. As such, the villagers told her to get a real job, so she left. Yousuke then told her to do what makes her happy, so she decided to become an adventurer to cure her own broken heart and unfreeze the ice sword herself. Eventually, she passes out and Yousuke takes her back to his room, where he also gave her a ring, promising to take care of her. His supposed proposal almost healed her heart and the ice sword began to melt until Yousuke explained she should sell the ring as it is worth enough money to take care of herself. Mabel, now enraged, begins fighting Yousuke, but is restrained by him until Elga, who is in another room, hears the commotion and walks inside, deciding to help Mabel freeze Yousuke. While he was frozen, Mabel explains to Elga that her ice clan was founded 400 years previously by a Japanese samurai who was reincarnated. His wish asked for the power to kill God, the ice sword, and she believes Yousuke to also be Japanese. Takafumi asks if Yousuke received a wish and he is unsure. They rewind the memory to when Yousuke was first reincarnated and he hears Gran Bahamal's God through a pre-recorded message in Mandarin. So Takafumi uses a translation app and learns that by mistake, Yousuke can only wish to understand Gran Bahamal's language, effectively wasting his wish. Yousuke uses this power to communicate with a group of adventurers who thought he was an orc, only for them to think he is simply an intelligent orc. Disillusioned with his story, Takafumi and Sunika stop watching and get coffee. Now back to watching Yousuke's first memory, they see that he was sold to a freak show by those exact same adventurers. While in his cell, he saw a ray of moonlight that turned out to be the spirit of light. However, Takafumi realizes Yousuke's language ability actually lets him communicate with spirits, giving him an extremely powerful form of magic. After escaping his cell, Yousuke freed all the animals at the freak show, but they were feral, so he was forced to end them. Immediately afterwards, he first met Elga and saved her from a dragon, but he tried to help her, thinking she was injured, overwhelming her, and as a result, she began following him everywhere. Fast forward to the memory to when Mabel froze him in ice. Yousuke is revealed to be unfrozen overnight, but he found himself in bed with Mabel and Elga. Meanwhile, Mabel decided to keep Yousuke's ring, making Elga jealous since the ring Yousuke once gave to her was already sold. Afterwards, Yousuke decides he wants to help a hero clear out a dungeon, which makes Elga suspicious as the current hero is a woman nicknamed Shining Crusader. Later, Yousuke heads out to find the Shining Crusader, Elga to buy back her ring, and Mabel to sleep like an unemployed bum. At the same time, Takafumi and Sunika are once again disappointed by Yousuke's depressing memories, but they cheer up when he treats them to ramen.